Chapter 5. That same morning, Casey Seaton opened his eyes to his 13th birthday. Warm and snug beneath his thick down quilt, he enjoyed the moment. I'm so much older, he told himself. No longer just a kid, a teenager, an adult, almost. Images of the next few months spooled out in his mind like a movie trailer. A sweet spring and glorious summer, liberty to wander through the forest, fishing, hunting, and swimming, doing whatever he liked. Then he would start high school in Lockport, where he would have a new life with new friends. It'll be your last free summer, his dad had told him. Startled, Casey had said, what happens after that? His father had laughed. An old guy like you might want to keep a summer job. Earn your keep. Casey had taken that as a joke. Rolling over, he gazed at the posters on his wall. A great bull elk with 12-point antlers, a keen-eyed Ute warrior, his bow drawn, a fully bearded old-time trapper, hair braided, dressed in a buckskin jacket, a muzzle-loading musket cradled in his arms. Casey's greatest desire, beyond all else, was to be a hunter. He glanced at his bedside clock. 7 a.m. School time. The boy sighed. His old life was still with him. In fact, the next moment, his mother poked her head into his room. Bess Seaton was a small woman with a curly mop of strawberry blonde hair, blue eyes, and a quick smile. Morning, love, she called. Do teenagers go to school? Her laughter tumbled forth the way Casey loved it, full of mischief and challenge. Presents are waiting, she added before retreating. I'm coming, Casey shouted and jumped out of bed. First, as always, he reeled up the window blind and checked the weather. The view was mostly of Lodgepole National Forest, crowned by Iron Mountain. That lonely peak, 8 miles beyond Casey's home and more than 11,000 feet high with bare rock at the summit, was capped with snow. The biggest backyard in the world, Casey's dad had called the forest. He and Casey had often hunted and fished there. The whole family hiked, camped, and had climbed Iron Mountain multiple times. Casey knew the land as well as his home, at least the first few miles of it. Their modern log house stood at Bend Valley Pass on a quarter-mile dirt road off County Highway 61. The Seatons' nearest neighbors were down valley, half a mile away. 61 went on for only another quarter mile and then ended at the Rock Ridge Trailhead. The trailhead led hikers and hunters into the national forest and real high country. Casey studied the gray sky. Weather coming, he thought. Getting late, Case, he heard his mother call. A barefooted race to the bathroom, teeth brushing, a pass of cold water over his rosy face, and a comb swiped through reddish hair, the slinging on of clothes. He hated scratchy new clothing, and Casey was done. He ran to the kitchen in the smell of bacon and coffee. Troy Seaton, Casey's dad, big-shouldered, broad-faced, and brown-bearded, was already in his Carhartt work clothes, cap on his head. He leaned back against the fridge, a mug of coffee in one large hand, a muffin in the other. Casey's dad worked 24/7 for the Valley Power Company, repairing whatever was broken in the Rickles County, an area of some 2,300 square miles. Repairs might be in a townhouse or a downed line in the middle of the wilderness. Wilderness took up half the county. Casey's mom was postmaster in Clarksville, a small town 12 miles down valley where his school was located. Now she was at the stove making a cheddar cheese omelet with Marco's red hot sauce, Casey's favorite. Happy birthday, Casey, his parents cried in ragged unison when he walked in. Casey grinned. A plate on the breakfast counter was set with 2 blueberry muffins and bacon alongside glasses of orange juice and milk. A gift-wrapped something sat next to it. For a moment, Casey's spirits sagged. The gift looked like a book. A book? He truly liked to read, but he had been expecting something else. His father gestured toward the present. That's just for starters. Come on. Don't want to be late for school. Casey snatched up the package and tore away the red, white, and blue striped wrapping paper. He found 2 books, Archery, Steps to Success, and Archery, Fundamentals. The instant he read the titles, his mood soared and his head filled with one thought. All right, I'm going to be a hunter. His dad, eyes full of merriment, said, They should help you with your video game. Chapter 6. Following a narrow animal trail that led into the valley, Neshoba trotted steadily along on his long, thin legs. With each step, his 5-inch wide paw pads marked the soft earth as if to brand the land as his own. Though he kept alert for the raven, he saw no sign. How far should he go? He kept reminding himself that if the raven did know something, that knowledge would solve his pack's food problem and his own. The raven's cry came again. Caw, caw. The bird was still lower in the valley. Neshoba went on. Chapter 7. Casey finished his breakfast and ran back to his room, clutching his new books tightly. He knew he had to hurry, but he could not resist sitting at his desk and clicking on his computer. His favorite video game, Bow Hunter, popped up, the screen filling with a jungle scene. Green vines, immense multicolored flowers, tall green grasses, and dangling black snakes. There were animals, too, lions, wolves, and tigers to shoot at, as well as hawks, ravens, and buzzards. At the bottom of the screen, an arrow tip pointed toward the jungle and at the animals and birds when they suddenly appeared as targets. Left hand, the button W to move forward. A to move left. D, right. S, back. Right hand, the mouse to point the arrow now in one direction, then another, ready to run, jump, crouch if necessary. When he clicked the W button, the jungle began to move toward him, creating the illusion that he was walking forward. Casey watched for creatures, ready to shoot the moment he spotted one. A zebra bounced by. Casey aimed, clicked his mouse, and the arrow shot forward, trailing a blood-red line. The zebra fell, feet straight up, looking like an upside-down table. Great shot, said an automated voice, while the words kill, score, 1 came up on the screen. Casey kept watching. A large raven appeared, hunched on the branch of a tree. Just as Casey aimed and was about to click the mouse, the bird spread its wings and flew away. You must be quicker, said the computer voice. Kill score, 1. Casey waited. As always, the bird reappeared, this time in the upper right corner of his screen. Casey shifted the arrow, aimed, and clicked the mouse. The arrow leaped across the screen. The bird tumbled. Great shot, said the automated voice, and the words kill score 2 came up. I'm good at this, thought Casey. I can kill anything. Chapter 8. A tinily rustling sound off the trail brought Neshoba to a halt. He cocked his ears and sniffed, his black nose all but vibrating. A mouse! The thought of food made his mouth water. Though his sore leg trembled, he held motionless, front paws together, eyes intent on the ground. Then he reared and pounced. His paws came down on nothing. All he had gained was misery in his foot. With a whine of frustration and a shake of his head, Neshoba continued along the trail. How far, he wondered, should I go? Remembering how the pups mouthed him, begging for meat, Neshoba knew the answer. Until I find food. Chapter 9. We're going to be late, Casey's mother called. Casey grabbed his backpack and one of the archery books, then hurried out of his room. He wished he did not have school and instead could stay home with his jungle game and hunt. The next moment he reminded himself, tomorrow I'll be able to play all morning. Chapter 10. Neshoba was deep in the valley. Daylight had brightened. Small white clouds eased through the trees only to fade away like shy ghosts. Blue shadows slid across the land even as they shrank in size. Birds chirped randomly. Snow melt flowed. Now and again the old wolf lifted his nose. The wind had shifted. It was coming from the north now, behind him. The shift not only limited his depth of smell, it all but assured a big change in the weather. Another frustration. Neshoba halted to sniff a bush, then a boulder. There were elk scent markings, but nothing recent. He listened. Where was that raven? He waited. Caw, caw. The bird was closer, but still farther down valley. Neshoba hesitated. The lower he went, the more likely he would come upon humans. I can avoid them, he told himself, and kept on. Chapter 11. Backpack stuffed with school books in one hand, archery book in the other, Casey climbed into the shotgun seat of his mom's old SUV. At the same time, his dad got into his Ford panel truck parked alongside. Casey's mom rolled down her window and called to her husband. Where are you working today, honey? A lion is sparking over by Philbeck. See if you can get home early. Weather is coming. And I think we've got a birthday dinner tonight. Troy looked past Bess to his son and grinned. Wouldn't miss it for anything. Be safe, she called to him, what she said every time he went off. Troy's diesel motor truck rumbled to life, idled for a short time, and then began to bump and bounce down the dirt road. Casey's mom followed. The moment her SUV moved onto the tar-smooth county road south to Clarksville, Casey flipped open his new book. His eyes took in the first words. You must learn how to handle archery equipment safely. Target archers and bow hunters alike must be aware of the harm an arrow can do if they do not exercise care at all times. The text went on. When we were kids, the local police department gave a demonstration on the park archery range. A policeman filled a gallon jug with sand and placed a balloon behind it. He fired a handgun into the jug. The sand stopped the bullet. An archer shot an arrow into the jug. It passed through the sand and popped the balloon. The policeman made his point to would-be archers. An arrow can be lethal when shot from a bow. Casey stopped reading and stared out the window, thrilled at the thought of all that power. And that is where we are going to stop for today.